There are things you can do to lower your risk of breast cancer and lymphomas. But let's face it, no one ever wants to hear the words, "It's cancer." And worse than that, hearing, "There's nothing more we can do." My grandmother had a brain tumor. Her neurosurgeons tried everything they could to remove it, but she didn't survive the surgery. My best friend battled breast cancer not once but twice. Her mother-in-law died from metastatic breast cancer. A friend from my church lost her husband to esophageal cancer. Another friend's mother-in-law passed away from pancreatic cancer. And I had yet another friend whose 25-year-old daughter developed metastatic lung cancer, despite never having smoked a single cigarette in her life. I could go on and on with personal stories of people I know who've been touched by cancer. I'm sure you could too. Here in the United States, if you're a man, your lifetime risk of getting cancer is about 1 in 3. For women, it's 1 in 4. Now, if those were your chances of winning the lottery, wouldn't you buy a ticket? I'd buy thousands. But here's the good news. Those statistics also mean that 2 out of 3 men and 3 out of 4 women will never get cancer. Cancer is not inevitable. It's not a rite of passage. Not everyone gets it. So what are those people doing? Right? Because if you make the right choices, you could reduce your cancer risk by up to 40%. 1. Eat natural green foods. We're not talking about foods dyed green with artificial coloring. We mean real, chlorophyll-rich green vegetables. Chlorophyll is the plant equivalent of mitochondria. It helps convert sunlight into energy. By eating naturally green foods, you're essentially borrowing the plant's immune system. One study showed that eating dark green, chlorophyll-rich foods could reduce your risk of liver cancer by 55%. When I worked in a research lab, there was a grad student who proudly claimed he could eat anything. He'd eat moldy bread. He wouldn't even bother scraping the mold off. He once toasted moldy bread, thinking the heat would kill the toxins. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Aflatoxins produced by molds accumulate in your body over time and are potent carcinogens, particularly known for causing liver cancer. Old grains and nuts can easily grow mold and produce aflatoxins. These include cereals, breads, pastries, and even granola bars. But here's the kicker. Grains like corn fed to livestock often contain hundreds of times more aflatoxins than those we eat directly. So when you eat meat from these animals, especially organ meats, you're consuming a concentrated dose of those same toxins. It's not just meat either. Dairy can also contain aflatoxins. There are more than 20 types of them, and aflatoxin B1 is one of the most potent cancer-causing agents known. 2. Watch out for moldy foods. I once bought peanuts in the shell, and the shells were black, clear mold. These molds thrive in warm, humid climates, contaminating crops before, during, and after harvest. That's why I avoid buying nuts and grains from hot, humid countries when I can. Someone once told me they stopped eating peanuts after I mentioned they contained germs. Truth is, all food has germs. That's why we clean and cook it. Mold. Spores are everywhere, in your house, your air, and on your food. A healthy immune system usually handles small doses just fine, but large colonies of mold are another story. Washing and cooking food helps reduce risk, but many toxins are heat-resistant. 3. Avoid processed meats and old nut butters. Cured meats can be contaminated with bacteria, and sometimes even aflatoxins. Only certain molds, like Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus, produce aflatoxins. These are common in peanuts, corn, cottonseed, and tree nuts. This is why I rarely eat pre-made nut butters. I'm not a big fan anyway, but I also know aflatoxins could be in them. More than 450 mycotoxins have been identified, causing everything from minor gut inflammation to deadly cancers. Historically, countries in Africa and Asia have had higher rates of liver cancer, closely linked to contaminated crops. 4. Understand cancer is a metabolism and immunity issue. Even if your lab work looks normal, you could still develop cancer. But if your labs are abnormal, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, elevated inflammation markers, your risk is even higher. These are all indicators of impaired immune and metabolic function. Hepatocellular carcinoma, a common form of liver cancer, is the sixth most diagnosed cancer and the third leading cause of cancer-related death globally. If you're over 18, ask your doctor for a hepatitis C antibody test. We now have short-term, well-tolerated treatments that can cure most hep C infections. Also, reduce aflatoxin exposure by buying only from reputable US brands and tossing out moldy, discolored, or shriveled nuts. The FDA started testing for aflatoxins back in 1968, especially in peanuts and peanut butter. But testing isn't required by law, and they can't check everything. To their credit, the FDA has helped keep our liver cancer rates low, even though we're one of the biggest consumers of nut butters. 5. Get healthy sunlight. But avoid sunburn. Sunlight stimulates two essential immune-supporting hormones, vitamin D and melatonin. Aim for some early morning light before 10 a.m. or late afternoon sun after 4 p.m. I see a lot of people with rashes when I prescribe antibiotics, and I'm often shocked by how many of them are sunburns that patients never even noticed. Sunburn is not just a cosmetic issue. It's immunosuppressive and increases cancer risk. Children who get sunburned have a higher chance of developing melanoma as adults. Don't just protect them from the sun, protect them from tanning beds. UV radiation ages the skin and contributes to cancer. While sunscreen has its own controversies, dermatologists universally agree on one thing: avoid UV damage. 6. Eat your leafy greens. My kids complain about chores and greens as if they've done more than their share. But as a parent, I know there's no such thing as too many leafy greens. Aim for 5 cups a day. That's about 100 grams of chlorophyll. I blend 2 cups of kale with blueberries every day. Everyone in the family drinks that. Even kale juice is helpful. Though I used to juice it because my kids didn't like the smoothie texture. Juicing is a lot of work and wastes product, but it was worth it. Kale is my favorite cruciferous vegetable. It contains glucoraphanin, which converts into sulforaphane when chopped. Sulforaphane helps reduce the risk of breast cancer and lymphomas. Even 5 servings a week have shown benefit. In one study, raw kale juice literally destroyed cancer cells. 7. Avoid alcohol. Cancer doesn't discriminate. Rich, famous, or royalty, it affects us all. We all breathe the same polluted air, but we don't eat the same foods. When I was a kid in the 70s, the US Surgeon General began warning about tobacco. It took decades, but smoking rates fell. So why are so many young adults today getting cancer while smoking is down? Maybe it's the toxins in our food. Maybe we're missing the antidote: whole, nutrient-rich food. We used to think cancer was an old person's disease, but now more young people are being diagnosed. That's because your biological age, based on your immune and metabolic health, is more important than your chronological age. There's a condition called progeria, where children age biologically like seniors. And people with metabolic diseases? They're aging faster too. Most of these conditions are preventable through better lifestyle choices. Medications are often just band-aids. They don't solve the root cause: poor lifestyle choices. Repeated exposure to toxins like aflatoxins, tobacco smoke, heavy metals, and asbestos suppress your immune system and wreck your metabolism. We've regulated asbestos and restricted tobacco, but we still allow arsenic in baby food and heavy metals in chocolate. It's time to demand better. Skip salty fermented foods. There's a fermented food craze going around, but these foods have been around forever. My dad used to warn me not to eat them. As a kid, I loved century eggs, but they're full of salt and ammonia. Not exactly a health food. My mom used to pickle vegetables, but my dad refused to eat them. He worried about food poisoning. And my mom had high blood pressure. Salted, fermented foods are loaded with sodium and linked to gastric cancer. Rather than eat fermented foods, I feed my gut fiber so my own microbes can do the fermenting. No briny jars required. Say no to alcohol. Again, alcohol isn't just a bad habit. It's toxic. It doubles the risk of breast cancer and increases cancer risk in the mouth. esophagus, stomach, intestines, and liver. It also depletes vitamin B1, thiamine, which is crucial for brain health, immunity, and metabolism. I use alcohol as a disinfectant. Why would anyone want to drink something that toxic? People avoid apples because of pesticide residue, but they'll wash down a steak dinner with a cocktail. It doesn't make sense. Yotin, don't let cancer win. Cancer is a thief. It steals time, health, and peace of mind. But you don't have to sit back and let it win. The choices you make every day, what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and how you manage stress can make a real difference. Yes, genetics matter, but lifestyle matters more. Studies show that only 5 to 10% of cancers are purely genetic. The rest are influenced by what we're exposed to and how we take care of ourselves. If you smoke, quit. If you drink, stop. If you don't move much, start walking. If you're stressed, find ways to relax. And if you haven't been eating your greens, start today. You don't need to do everything at once. Just begin. Your body wants to heal. Your immune system wants to fight for you. Give it the tools it needs, and don't give cancer a fighting chance.